Hello and welcome to the Querying the Message YouTube channel. I'm Izzy, she, they. With me is Tamijo, it. And we have an exciting set of games for you. We are launching right off into round one. We've got Yantuno playing Corp against Sauce playing Runner for the first game in the matchup between Team SBT and Team Clearingscouse. How are you today, Tamijo?
I am doing fine, thank you very much. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am so excited for this game. We've got SBT. They had a bye last round. This is their first time getting to play in the Fight Night competition. And I'm so excited to see what they've brought for us today. Clearingscouse, on the other hand, they had to fight their way here. Um, hey,
Yeah, through
stream
Ms. Boss.
chat. Glad to see people here. Can you all hear us? Do we sound good?
I think we sound good. I realise that's not going to be helpful, but I think we sound good. But yeah, they had to fight their way through Ms. Boss, I believe.
They sure did. All right, we're off. Um, let us let them know we are ready. Oh no. Please hold one
Hmm.
moment.
Everything okay?
Nope, everything's fine. Okay, we're good.
Yep. I can see the stream, I can see the game.
Cool.
That's all
We're
we
all
need.
set. Bear with us. It is our first time streaming. We're very excited and also very technically unsavvy.
Whoa! Speak for yourself. I'm not having to do anything, so I can.
All right. Deck list wise, um, we do have lists. Let me see if I can paste them into the chat. Um,
We also have a first turn, which consists of. Let me just make my phone go away. Um, so we had a draw and a double install from our good friend here on the op side. And from the Hotchko side, we've got a lead on a show gamble and then check both remotes. So trying to keep this economy away,
yeah,
trashing both the Marilyn and the wall to wall.
the Wall Wall is such an important trash against this Grudge Work list. It's a card that really is going to power the Grudge to be able to just keep putting those installs down every turn. That 3 credits you pay now is versus paying 12 credits over the course of the next 3 turns.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And similarly, like after killing the Marilyn campaign and leaving it as the only asset in play, it's going to be extra powerful for at least a turn or so.
An early twinning is something that can definitely be concerning to the Grudge deck. That multi-access is going to be the way, especially early before Grudge is able to really set up defenses. However, it is going to be dependent on Hoshiko finding an enabler for that twinning.
Yeah, so what kind of enablers do we have in this list then? I've realised that the sheet I've got doesn't have the lists, so we'll now.
Yeah, looks like we have Miss Bones, Trickster Taka, 2 Paladin Pomu as our charge sources. That's a pretty standard list. What we're looking at
Yeah,
here, by the way, is a Ma Hoshiko, a very regular 45 card, regular breakers with a turbine to get through everything we need to. On the ob side, you've seen it before. It's Grudge Work. We're looking at a slightly different version. This is the Warride Tracker version of the ob list, and I'm wondering if there might be one in server 3 now, alongside probably an Angelique defending that urban renewal. Um, you don't want that urban renewal going off.
oh, we get a second upgrade, so that's probably at least one of those is probably a Warroad tracker at this point. Like, there's no reason to just put them a virus in there, is there?
To bluff the Warride. It's the virus are just so flexible. And if you've got an
Yeah,
Angelique defending the urban renewal, you may as well have it defending that Mavirus as well. If the runner's going to run it, you're probably popping the Mavirus for something anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was thinking, don't give them the opportunity to make one run and see multiple cards. But I guess, like you say, you're going to be cracking that virus anyway, so might as well force them to hit the Angelique in order to get you to get rid of it.
And Sauce just checking the text on Warride Tracker. Warride is a wild card. It does not care if you pinhole the server. It does not um, go away until you've trashed
Mm.
it. And of course, when you're trying to run that server, you do want to trash the Warride Tracker first. Trashing it first, then it won't fire on every other card in the server. Um,
Yeah, the text slightly updated to be the root of this server, which doesn't change too much about the way it actually gets used in this matchup. But so there we go. We're getting our first. Oh, and a
ooh.
steal. That's not what you want to see at this stage of the game, I don't
It's
think,
a
is it?
big hit for the runner, but notably, it also turns on Angelique's threat text.
Oh, that is true. That is true. We saw yesterday a game where Angelique's threat text didn't quite make it. Um,
Fermenter coming down the runner,
but
having quite a good economic start and getting that alternating flip each turn, really milking that Hoshiko value.
yeah,
Um,
a credit and a card every other turn is very very valuable. And like you say, you've got like the double daily cast slowly paying out. The fermenter's gonna keep some cash on the board, and then this banner is gonna allow you to just sort of not have to worry about finding obviously the right break for the right situation, and you can also like make reads on Pharmacarry. I assume Pharmacarry's in this list. I've not checked, but
a full three of them. No, the
yeah, yeah.
Formicary is so important to grudge work, and Banhar just neatly cuts that damage right in half.
Yeah.
Taking a think here indicates them a virus on the board, but we're not popping it.
Or
Lots
is
of
it a
things
big
that could
old
be in
bluff?
server for unresed here. I think hostile architecture probably makes the most sense.
Yeah, you're not going to res that until you absolutely need to. Urban's not unique, so it might it might have been resed at that point to start getting that countdown. Um, Not a lot here. You could argue you don't res a bladder wart because you're not getting the damage, but I think you're happy with I think you're happy to just gain the money. Um, Things like reconstruction contract. There's quite a few cards in this list that you actually like are resing at quite a specific timing. Actually, thinking about it, but I guess now we're gonna find out because yeah, there's the urban.
And an Angelique. It is
Yeah,
so important to res the Angelique first. It's so easy to forget if you're used to Prisec that Angelique needs to be resed in order to trigger, but it's had enough practice now with it to catch that.
yeah. I think if anyone has,
And it's a Rikoko in server 4. Now, Rikoko, of course, requires another advanceable card on the board in order to fire. Otherwise, it is no change in game state. A rule that is seemingly being removed, a thing I'm personally very excited for. Runners got to take a bit of a think here. You need to access these in the right order. You need to decide what you're trashing and how. If you're trashing
yeah,
anything, are you trashing the Warride? Or are you leaving the Warride and just taking the Urban down? Um, Expensive either
yeah.
way.
I think there's a the argument here with 11 credits. You do need to deal with a lot of this stuff at some point. So I feel like you want to kill like Warroad Tracker first, and then Angelique and Urban in either order. They don't matter, do they? So
Having double daily cast certainly makes you feel a whole lot better here, but those are running out, and Grudgework's one of those decks where you'll play against it as the runner, and your early econ start can be very strong, but it's easy to run out of gas in the mid game.
yeah, there's a lot in this deck that costs 3 or 4 to trash, and we've seen currently, well, just from archives at the moment we're mid access, and we've already seen 10 credits worth of trash costs
Letting the
potentially.
twinning go. We must not have seen senior paladin or senior. But of
Yeah.
course, with no ice, your trickster Taka is not going to be as valuable. No ice on this board state, of course. Um,
Yeah, with you'd need to find an icebreaker, the attacker itself, and then all your attacker is doing is putting a counter on the twinning. You're probably just activating the boost ability on Unity just to get the counter. So not great.
and a DJ
So
hitting
yeah,
the bin.
yeah, that's quite a big hit, I think. The DJ, 'cause that's a big chunk of economy that's essentially free because you're not going to see a lot of ice in this matchup, as we've said. So like,
Excavator coming up, getting us a spin doctor, maybe fixing the hand here. Grudge is a deck that can definitely just have those 3-pointers stuck in hand. You don't really want them there.
yeah, we've already seen one ripped straight from HQ, so there could be another. And this ice on HQ could obviously indicate that we're trying to protect HQ, but it could also just be a farmer carry. And putting it on HQ deters HQ runs, whilst at the same time you can move it to protect whatever you actually want to protect. So
And we're now at the point where we need to see what the runner's next solution is for econ going forward. The corporation board state, that's Fiatagor, does need to come down sooner rather than later. Finding an urban in server 8 needs to come down at some point. Now's probably as good a time as any. We've allowed the access to happen without resing a hostile architecture.
again, there it goes. What do we see in this last remote? Oh, it's a thinker, so
Second spin doctor looks like if we're shuffling back in.
okay, I see. Yeah.
Shuffling back in Maryland and Urban makes a lot of sense.
Team Ireland's seemingly very important in this matchup. Well, in this deck in general. So, and then Wyrod tracker wall to wall. So only one urban going back and then shuffling back all of the economy. And apparently Warroyd the preferred defensive upgrade.
And that is the face check on Enigma, ending the runner's turn right there. Enigma, what a wild piece of ice.
I can't believe this card is still legal.
But she's turning into a Maryland coming out of the deck. It's one of the things the Ob does so well is just reposition that whole board state into whatever needs to be happening. Having the Maryland
Yeah.
campaign makes you a whole lot more comfortable about resing that hostile architecture. I would be surprised we saw one in HQ a while ago if that didn't just hit the board. Now that we do have a bit of drip econ to justify us resing it. We are also expecting to see bladderworts at some point to start really grinding down the runner hand, make them have to install those key pieces.
Yeah, that Enigma Svitagar thing, quite reminiscent of almost like a Blue Sun type of a play, being able to res the Enigma and then immediately get all that money back. And there is the Bladderwort, like you say.
Hitting a Maw, only 2 of those in the runner deck. Notably, no pinhole threading in the runner deck. And this is going to be, I think, quite important as we're starting to see some ice hit the board. Especially since Banhar has gone already. The runner is going to need to find their actual solutions.
Yeah, how many banner are we on in this deck? I'm looking at the wrong Hashko deck, that's why. Yeah, we do have a second Banhar, so so not out of those yet, but obviously 25 cards left in the deck still. Still a long way to find that second one, maybe.
Running server 14. It's another bladderwort.
Ooh.
Not as scary with
it's not
Corp on 10 credits.
Yeah, it's not a dangerous Bladderwort, so it's hanging about for a bit. It seems like at 10 credits, a Bladderwort and a Marilyn in play, and the Svitagar, it looks like Source might be leaving the economy alone at this point.
Oh, we find
Here's
Formicary moving off of server 6. Now, of course, it will be able to dip below the credits necessary to trigger that Bladder Wart without too much trouble by resing a hostile architecture. There it
Yeah,
is.
there we go.
Losing a turbine, losing a hippo. Hippo, reasonably important in this matchup, I suspect, but not nearly as critical as others. Like, what ice are we really trying to hippo here? Really just probably border controls or sandstones on awkward times.
Yeah, the what decoder do we have left here? We've lost our Unity. We don't have a buzzsaw.
It's 2 copies of Unity, I think.
I am looking at the wrong deck again. I apologize. Yeah, 2 copies of Unity. I got very confused for a second. Oh,
And the Angelique is in hand with the Bladderwort damage. That send a message. Quick game. Beautiful.
did not think about the in-hand Angelique. Just went ham on trashing and yeah, installing that daily cast last click.
And Sauce mixed up where Angelique was. Unfortunate. But we are off to game 2.
Game
Give
2.
the players
I will.
here a minute. Game 2 is going to be Tuno is playing an Arisana list. Its list is a fairly regular Arisana list. We've got other than
Well,
2 dupes.
yeah, you say very fairly regular. 10 of the influence has gone on these 2 diversion of funds, which are probably quite brutal if you're not seeing them coming. But obviously, with open deck lists, it's going to affect how this ice gets placed. But there is not a huge amount of ice in this R plus deck. 9 ice total. So even just forcing them to commit one of those to HQ early is going to have a big impact on the rest of the way the rest of the game plays out.
Absolutely. It's interesting, the Arisana asset matchup. It's going to be really important for Tuno to be very mindful of econ through this, to be very mindful of where the B1001s are. This is, of course, an Amani crypto crash deck. You do not want your environmental testings bounced. You do not want your urban art vernissages bounced when they're both full up with credits. So much of your econ sits on the board, and you really don't want to have that just suddenly go away, especially immediately after losing money to the crypto crash.
Yeah, absolutely. With the crypto crash Amanis and I combo is quite a brutal one.
On the other hand,
but yeah, you've also got the slight issue of if your opponent isn't putting a lot of ice into play, it can be quite awkward to place your Trojans correctly with Arisana. So you're playing almost with half an ID or so. Not getting quite as many triggers as you might want to.
For sure. Though we do have Ika, so we can at least get our engine going without needing to host on ice. Now, notably, this Arisana is on 2 Hush, which is notable because the only ice in this deck that is not broken by Hust are the 2 Mesnachesvo, which themselves are a pretty decent Hush target.
The only 2 ice that are not broken by what, sorry?
By Hush. I guess the Hush on the ping, you still don't go through it, but 3 ping, Hush on that is great. 2 Mesnachesvo, Hush on that is great. 2 VSA, we love to Hush a VSA. And 2 Starlit Nite, turning off that threat text for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The Hush is going to be really, really valuable.
Finding Wage Workers in Server 1, coming back with Overclock, just neatly spending those 4 credits, taking down the Wage Workers. That's an important one. The R+, of course, depends on Wage Workers in order to never advance out the 4 2s that it's going to use for its scoring plan. Barring, of course, the runner going Tag Me and Sauce playing the single copy of Shipment from Vladisibirsk.
Yeah, we do have 1 seamless launch as well, so there is that 4th copy of Wage Workers almost in that, which is nice.
Yep. And after taking down our wage workers, it getting down a daily cast and a nuka, just setting up not a bad board state from the runner's perspective. Um, Sauce drawing cards. We just need to find things to push onto the board. Icing the remote with 5 credits. That's doof territory. Um,
Of course, this server 3 not guaranteed to be not an asset, not guaranteed to be an agenda or something. So we might see a res, but we'll find out very shortly.
there's the doof. My guess server 3 is
There it
Rashida.
is. Not a great Rashida for Sauce here if this is
Into the Depths, a spicy one of, notably, and Pisha shown beautiful. Clicklessly taking down what we assume is it's a tomorrow's headline.
Nice.
Unexpected agenda push there.
Yeah, not respecting that diversion of funds, and getting really, really quite badly punished for it.
And
now
the Pisha shown giving that click to clear the tag, so important. Now, one funny note about its deck, it is such a careful deck builder, but we noticed 3 or 4 days ago that it was playing 49 cards, which was a surprise to 202.
I mean, you've bought the same number of card sleeves for both decks. That's the reason, right? It is a shame that this was a tomorrow's headline, not a different 4-2 for Tuno here, because then it could have trashed this Marilyn and left a Sauce on 0 credits. So
if I was going to find the tomorrow's headline, this is exactly when I would want to find it. Just get it out of the game. There's so many board states where the R+ deck threatens to res wage workers, score tomorrow's headline, and do some tag punishment. This Arasana deck is so dependent on resources that the threat of tomorrow's headline just giving you a tag on the corporation's turn with a click left is huge. And having that out of the game is going to really, I think, set the tone.
Yeah, absolutely. But now with the Oppo research, the small Oppo research coming down, and at 8 credits and facing down a yellow tag operation is usually somewhere where you're only just fine. But now we can still clear 2 tags, still have 2 clicks left over. This Oppo research not quite as good as hard hitting news, sadly.
Oh, apparently we have another screen scheduled. I've apparently scheduled it twice. I have no idea how to go fix that. So unfortunately, we'll be leaving that up until after. I know myself well enough to know that I will accidentally turn off the stream that is working, not the one that is baiting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Urban Art coming down. Of course, that ice committed to the board is going to mean that Urban does always have a target. We are over-installing it. Notably, no simulchip on the board makes this play reasonable. The Peach shown is a fairly important one to get rid of.
Yeah, especially with this Vernissage in play now, like you say, like that's going to start generating a credit every turn, essentially, whilst obviously potentially providing a click.
And it is just the singleton Peach shown in the deck. Does mean that we will need a simulchip to get it back.
Yeah, opting for 3 Q-ban instead of the Pishashao. And speaking of Q-ban.
And ending the turn with creative. Just a nice turn.
Yeah, managing to, even though facing the tomorrow's headline steal, trashing wage workers, Oppo research, still managing to be at 11 credits, going up to 13 when it starts its next turn. This is quite a strong start, I think, from Tuno versus Sauce's looking quite weak board. By turn 5, you're not really going to be you're not particularly happy with just 2 installed cards. Neither of which are rezzed. We might see an agenda push here. So if this is like advance seamless out a a crypto crash, that would be great, but it doesn't look like it is. So
Certainly taking a think here. Now, it is really notable that the R Plus deck is not on Behold or really any access traps beyond the Tomorrow's Headline one tag. So, as the runner, you feel fairly confident that you can run just about everything and just take down the cards that are important.
yeah, the only thing you're like sad and that now that the tomorrow's headline has gone out of the way, the only thing that you can be like remotely sad to see is just like a Bellona that you obviously is very expensive, but that's as close as it gets. Oh, we do see this crypto crash score. Um,
Runner left
but
with
no Amani
4
Sinai
credits,
back it up,
2 dipping back
sadly.
in.
Yeah.
Draw, draw. Finding the econ recovery. Very nice.
And then, like you say, taking these accesses when they can. And it's seen an Oppo research. Another Oppo research, but obviously with no trash this turn and being at 10 credits, it's in quite an happy place.
Corporation taking another think here.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to spend some time trying to figure out exactly where your game plan lies because you're so far behind
And it's so
that
important to know what that ice is on server 5.
yeah.
If it's a ping, then you can be a whole lot more aggressive than if it's a VSA, although you might be more happy with the VSA given that Slap Vandal goes through them both just the same.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Are
And
we on
if
Slap
one of these the
Vandal?
B1001, well, there goes down the B1001.
We are
Um,
not on Slap Vandal.
uh,
Subscribing to the
that is
school
a
of
shame.
thought that Arasana should, instead of playing Slap Vandal as your middle game, just go get the tool you need. You have overclock.
Oh,
You have
yeah, yeah,
self-modifying code.
the small hack, as it were. Having a big think about this ice, I feel like this feels to me like a Messner Chestfer. Like if you
Could be, or
res the
Starlet.
Messner Chestfer, then you're going all the way down to 0 credits, only for Tuno to be able to install the relevant breaker, which in this case is Eco. Yeah, and Eco would break it for free. But obviously not resin allows the SMC to go and get whatever it wants.
Ooh, and we are transitioning to multi-access.
Yeah.
Leaving the
And
regolith.
ignoring the regolith, I guess, deciding that it just doesn't matter at this point. It's far ahead enough to just start trying to win the game.
Hard to steal Bologna here, though. Paying the 5 credits for that and getting hit by a big oppo, not necessarily the situation you want to be in.
Oh, oh, I guess we used Arasana on that SMC, didn't we? So
Yep.
still just playing essentially click to put 2 credits on that Urban Art Vernissage.
Federal fundraising. Now, rearranging the top 3 a little less impressive when Conduit's going to see all of them.
Yeah,
Does let you pull
so
the agendas into HQ, where they might be a little safer right now.
yeah, getting to see the 2 cards underneath what Tuno has seen.
Ice R&D, that makes a lot of sense here, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But like we say, what I see really excited for, I guess currently we've not actually seen a breaker in play. But it feels like Tuno has something good to go. Like pivoting straight into that set of self-modifying code, it makes me feel like there is a breaker or another SMC on deck because
For sure.
it
And
feels risky.
with 4 credits on the Urban Art Vernissage, it is going to be tough for Sauce to really force it to pay enough money. Like, a lot of the R plus econ denial with the Ice Suite here is really about forcing the runner to install those breakers, commit to the board, and spend money. that you need to spend 3 credits for your Unity to go through your VSA, that you need to spend money to install your cleaver to go through the ping. Once it's installed, it's not that expensive, most of the ice, but you do need to spend that upfront cross on the breakers. And, oh, hitting
Ooh,
Bologna with 4 credits.
4 credits. That's a shame.
Damn, it's good. But we know it's there, and we know it's not going anywhere
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
until we find a spin doctor. Of course, that federal is going to help us dig for it. We can always overdraw and discard if we need to, or we can keep holding on to it, knowing we've got that oppo to defend it.
Yeah, with the Oppo research, you've got the option to have it stolen and then land 4 tags, and Chuno's going to go down to quite a low number of credits to clear all of that, and in that time you can make some kind of recovery, but that would
Much
obviously leave
scarier
it at 5
proposition when the
points.
runner's going to game point.
Yeah, so leaving only the single AR enhanced security is the only safe agenda.
DJ coming in for urban credits. We're Lou.
Oh, we love a spicy DJ Fenris.
I saw
So
it do the DJ Lou a couple of times in practice, and it was always a spicy pick. That extra credit in a card draw. Here, have a bad pub, and also it draws you a card. Feels pretty good.
Yeah. In this scenario, we've just paid 1 credit to trash that card and draw a card. So, no, it's very, very, very nice card.
And we found the Hush. That really hits every single ice in this deck.
Yeah. And obviously knowing to Hush before any reses. It can be quite scary, especially spending the click to do it. It can be quite scary. It feels like you're wasting a click a little bit with your Arasana, but obviously you need to get that into place. So then when you do finally run it, it can find the correct breaker.
Jai pointing out that in this game, DJ Lou is just DreamNet.
It's DreamNet, yeah. They thought they banned it, and no. I guess this is what happens. Just clicking for some credits here. Yeah, well, this is part of the trap now. You don't need to apply too much pressure to these centrals because there's nowhere any of these cards can go that will be safe anyway. You can just keep checking the board.
Now, for money left in the runner deck, we do have another dirty laundry left. We've got 2 more sure gambles. No, sorry, there's only 1 sure gamble in this list. Don't make assumptions about Chuno's lists. It's always a dangerous
yeah, especially when it comes to the number of sure gambles. It's never what you think.
The other 2 gambles are called diversion of funds.
Ah, yeah, of course. I mean, they do gain 4 credits. So it's just that then you also click to make the corp lose 5.
But we do have an amount of money left in the runner deck, so clicking for credits there indicates to me that we do not want to discard, that we've got cards in our hand that we want, so we want to draw up at the start of the turn when we can play out our things, rather than try to draw for money and find more things that we want to hold in our grip.
Yeah. But leading on this diesel, which implies obviously we're going to take a turn of doing quite a lot. With the Bellona in hand, no, that face down card was not discarded.
Yeah, that face down's been in our cards for a while.
Might be safe. Yeah, it might be safe. It might be safe to still dirty laundry a random remote here. My thinking was seeing the Bellona might make you tempted to not dirty laundry a random remote, but the spin doctor needs to be rezzed before that, or you have to overdraw manually. So we could see a dirty laundry on a random server into install a card, and then we've still got quite a few clicks left over before we have to discard anything, so we won't be losing any of that value there. Pre-installing the SMC.
Dirty laundering the iced remote makes a lot of sense. You want to be able to guarantee you're going to get those 3 credits, and that ice does mean that that server will continue to exist even if your spin doctor is in there.
Yes, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
the corporation here on 14 credits, being able to easily afford that Starlit Nite, it's interesting. Leaving that regolith does mean that things like Big Oppo are suddenly very affordable once the runner or the corporation finds another 2-pointer. Um, Using Eco to break this.
Yeah. So that's how many credits is that total? That's just a net gain of 1 credit, is it? After the host.
Yep, and
So
we find the Bologna with a dirty laundry a second time.
oh, down to just 3 credits this time, but now that it's on the board, it's going to be obviously much easier to find again, and just costs essentially 4 credits to steal now with the Cuban and the Eka um already on that Starlit Night. But that would turn on the threat text. So
Just installing an environmental testing, saying that the corporation would have to have wage workers into seamless launch, but the seamless launch has already been played.
yeah, the corp not currently able to score that out, which is nice for Juno.
Another federal fundraising on the board. The corporation here struggling to really develop much of a board state, unfortunately. Arizona, despite the econ looking a little bit tough into the matchup, really managing it very well.
Yeah, a lot of your econ tied up in things like these urban art vernissage. This urban art vernissage makes it seem awkward because you want your credits to be real credits to remove tags and things, but doesn't seem to have actually manifested that way.
And yes, Augustus, the archives face down card is the overwritten ice.
Yeah.
Corporation taking a think here. This is an interesting board state. You've got that Bologna in server 5. You can't really threaten to score it out here. If you do, then the runner's gonna go get it.
Yeah, as soon as you commit any resources to it. So I guess is part of your plan here to pin back a seamless and hope that looks like a threat? I guess you can overwrite it at some point with a spin doctor and use that as your threat.
Another ice for the remote. Server 10 sure looks like a wage workers. But that second ice is very important. You just need to make the runner spend as much money as possible to steal that Bologna so that the Oppo research hits as hard as it possibly can.
But you can also do the thing here where you just go and trash the wage workers instead, because with that second ice on the board now, the Bologna is potentially costing you quite a bit to steal. So you can just go and try and kill the wage workers, which will only cost you again a smaller number of credits with this Lou, and then if you can just land a little bit more economy before you actually get to that point, or after you get to that point, then the Oppo research isn't going to be too bad, and they're not going to be able to capitalize on it by scoring the agenda because you've killed that wage workers. So.
Absolutely.
But this is coming back to what I was saying last turn now about my surprise at the Urban Art Vernissage not sort of biting Tuno. There is 5 credits on it, and those 5 credits in the credit pool would be much nicer than stat just on the board, unable to be used to remove tags.
Simulchip Arizona down the Hush, saying no to that ping. Hush would be so nice on face checks in this matchup. And the Simulchip here, very important, lets us get the SMC if we need to get through that ice. We're making this run. We're gaining a credit going, getting this Bologna.
The no res makes me feel like it's a virtual service agent.
And the ice in this R+, just, it is so porous.
Yeah, like, you've got the 3 pings, 2 Starlit Nights, and then everything else is... 2 Messenger Chest Foes, and then everything else just doesn't have game text if you're
A click left. Can we trigger the
if there is got an
environmental
agenda around it.
testing? Do we have the install?
This would be a big deal. Oh, it looks like we've got an Amani Sanai. This can be fixed manually, but obviously they can choose to.
Yep, running it back.
Sure.
Very sporting. Suppose could technically argue that information was gained that the runner was going to pay for the Bologna instead of choosing not to, but I think that is an entirely reasonable take back to give.
Yeah, the Amani Res as well also gives the opportunity to choose not to pay. So
Absolutely.
there's no the information that they would pay, like that Tuno would pay if it sees this Amani Sanai in play, then that doesn't seem like a lot of information to me.
Simul-chip trigger the environmental testing now is such a nice line.
That
Be
is
able to
that is
have the
quite
money
clever.
for the Amani trace to be able to make it so that you can't bounce that environmental testing if you don't want to pay for the trace.
Yeah, it doesn't go down to 4 credits. Yeah.
Not
So
boosting
many different
makes sense here.
tactics.
You don't really want to vamp yourself as the corp in order to try to vamp the runner. Just doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, not in this position
letting the
as
trace
well.
happen, you're fine losing any of these cards, and that seems entirely reasonable. With 2 credits on Urban, any of the reinstalls are going to be fine, and any of the other bounces, it's and taking down the Federal, getting that DJ Lou trigger. With the runner on 12 credits after the Bologna steal on game point, it is so hard for the corporation here.
Yeah, we've got the 2 credits on the Urban Art Vernissage ready to go. The SMC in play means it can go and get whatever it wants from, like, if it needs a breaker. And we have the Conduit. What happened to the Conduit?
The Conduit got Amani bounced. It did not boost the trace.
Oh, it just went back. Okay.
And we see the big Oppo.
Yeah, so
with a push in the remote. This is, of course, the fork. If there's a window that Sauce has, he has it right now.
Yeah, this server 10 being a wage workers, this being a another crypto crash would be the ideal scenario.
Now, as the runner here, your big think is going to be, do you go tag me? It is a time in the game where you can go tag me. The punishment is just the single copy of Self-Growth Program and the copy of Shipment from Vladisibirsk. And as long as the corporation isn't on game point, you're not that worried about the shipment. Yeah. You just need to find the win first. And slowing down to clear the tags, giving the corporation a window to get to game point can be a lot scarier, especially because Big Oppo is online for every trash for the rest of the game.
Yeah, there is also the Starlit Nite, but with the Hush in hand, ready to go. It's not a big threat, but it is still something that you have to consider because there's already one in play.
Simul chipped away for the environmental testing.
It's simul chipped away. Sorry. So.
Okay,
so we've got another one
simul
somewhere,
chip deck. Getting your Hush back is that big of a challenge.
Yeah,
and there is
a second
Hush. Yeah, but we're just clearing. Saying the corporation has a lot of work to do. The runner can be perfectly happily not giving him any tools with which to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if he triple advances, well, we don't see it, but if he triple advances, you could, after the third advancement, crack that SMC to go and find something to install so that the crypto crash doesn't actually hurt you. You could try a line like that.
And as chat points out, the big costs of going tag me are the B1001 and the resources. You really want to keep that Lou around if you can.
Yeah, the B1001 obviously actually probably the biggest.
Install wage workers seeing another install. Runner
But
here
that
having to make a big choice between taking down Amani and taking down wage workers.
hmm, they that money from that um regolith starting to run out a little bit here. There's been quite a few reses. We've paid a couple of credits for these ice installs, which obviously until they get resed don't technically do anything. Though obviously it has deterred some of those R&D runs. Is
Bouncing the
the
Ika
only
here,
upgrade
that's going to
this is
cost you
the
another.
Anoetic Void?
Yeah, one Anoetic Void.
Okay, so we know that there's an Anoetic in this server as well, which is uh,
The
slightly worrying, I'd imagine.
only upgrade in the deck.
Yeah.
Expensive, though. And interesting, bouncing the Ika means you need to pay another 2 credits to reinstall it. If you
Yeah,
want
to
hosting, use it
rehost
to
it.
break.
Yeah. And you can't use the vernissage credits for those.
Now, we do have Echelon. So if we install the Echelon, we can Arasana down the Ika and break the Starlit Knight for 2 credits without hosting. Um,
Yeah, so maybe trying to pivot into a more regular breaker strategy than this Ika.
Now, the runner having 10 credits, but of course it's got 6 of them tied up for installs, which is tough when you know that any trash is going to get you hit with an Oppo. Oppo is
Yeah,
expensive for the corporation, but it's R+. It's not that expensive for the corporation.
we have seen 2 of them, so there is only 1 left. Oh, just going for a big diversion here. Immediately saying no action.
If it's a ping, so be it.
Yeah, it's only a tag. Obviously the hush on there first before the res, putting source at 0 would be nice, but
This doof is so
probably
nicely
better
timed
to
here. Like, turning off.
on play like you said, and just force them to use that Anoetic Void, and then all threats are gone. But if Source chooses to do that, then
We do love seeing Doof Shaper. We love seeing that spicy influence spend
the old
5
classic.
credits for the Messna Chest Foe. We are saying it. Saying
Ooh,
the 5 credits, we can lose the 5 credits to make the runner not have that gain. That is not one that you want to face check. That 3 credits here is, I think, going to be really important for the runner not to lose.
yeah, it does have the ability to go down to 1 credit to install. We won't be able to break, I don't think, will we? How do we break?
Depends on what's in hand, I think.
Just a Unity. Yeah, so we won't be able to SMC to break here. I'm wondering what it's thinking
The
about.
Jacoby won't help us because we, of course, can't charge it.
It is just this Unity, right?
It is just this Unity for our decoder.
And that means that it simply cannot break this ice. So
Still, you want to spend that self-modifying code here if you're going to lose the 3 credits anyways. You may as well sink it into the SMC and get some board development instead of just losing the 3 credits for nothing.
Yeah, I guess that choice is quite difficult because obviously you want to make sure that you get the correct card rather than just go and getting any random card. So
it's a bit like it has to duck the doof during the doof run, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. And if it does go and get that Unity, it costs 4 to 5 credits to break this Messner Chest Foe. So it's not particularly close to that either. But also it could go and get a conduit.
Conduit is in the grip.
Pray that there's no ping.
No, we can't get conduit. It is in the grip.
Oh, of course. Oh, I'm just thinking about what's in archive, what's in the heap, and what's in play. But obviously, as you say, we know that that's there, so we can't pivot to just playing conduit. Yeah, it's up some. This is a tough decision.
And the choice ends up being
Just go
cleaver.
and getting a cleaver. So go and getting cleaver. So then now, it can install the conduit and then just run R&D potentially. But we'll see potentially a Q-ban being installed on the outermost ice on R&D here, or a piece of shell, or just installing this Eker again.
And very importantly, it's splitting up the install cost of cleaver, only costing 2 because of the DZMZ optimizer, making sure to pay 1 from Urban and 1 from the credit pool, so that Messna Chespo face check costing the corporation 5, not actually using any real runner money, but of course forcing the runner to make some commitments to the board before it might be ready to.
Yeah, and it is now on 0 credits and unable to contest these assets in play, and it is vulnerable to an Oppo research once, obviously, the trigger condition is fulfilled.
Installing Lilypad, getting that card draw engine.
Yeah, a shame to obviously install it last click, but
Now, corporation here, it seems pretty likely that we just click for 4 credits, get that wage worker's value. We'll see, perhaps there's a regolith in server 5. How many were in the list? 2 regolith. It could be regolith in the list. That would be the nicest res, I think, for sauce right here, other than perhaps another Rashida. Not Rashida. But we have finally run the runner dry on Econ. It's going to be interesting to see what the recovery looks like from here.
Yeah, and on top of that, just the single vernissage as well. Credit. So obviously going to be going up to 3. Yeah, so this indicates to me that server 5 does have an agenda in it.
Install, not clicking for another credit to get the wage worker's value.
Yeah, I
Realizing
think
that we didn't click for
maybe
another
just
credit to
seeing
get
that.
the wage worker's value.
Yeah.
Good. Icing a new remote. Is that what we're about to see? No, icing the wage workers.
That's the
Makes
wage
a lot
workers.
of sense.
Potentially changing his mind there because he's realised he's got more money than he thought. But I don't really know what the new remote ice would have been. What would have been for, but
Definitely a turn where the runner is going to have a little bit of trouble here. It's, I think, probably the best recovery is going to be getting, finishing off your turn with one of those creative commissions.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
There are 2 creative commissions left in the deck, and finding that Cubon for R&D is very nice here too. It's a VSA.
Yeah, I was gonna
We
say,
are taking a tag on this one if we don't have the other Hush in hand.
and we gain 2 credits because it has 0 credits. Can't lose 1, then gains 2 credits. So it's not a big deal, this VSA. And now with 2 credits, able to break a ping in this position. I guess the card it really doesn't want to see here would be a Messner chest for another Messner chest for Starlit Nite would
happy
be.
letting the corporation go down to 0 again, though.
It feels like you're spinning your wheels a lot, and you're so close that I feel like going down to 0 yourself with this tag, then having to essentially just, I guess, click for 2 credits, clear the tag. But you could let it float. You could let it float. I think maybe the actual worst thing that happens here is this run is successful and hits an AR enhanced security.
That would be that would be pretty unfortunate. There is just the one Ares in the deck.
Yeah.
Taking 2 more tags
Okay,
and
so it
that
looks
threat
like
text coming in to end the run.
yeah,
Hard to clear all 3 here.
it looks like it is now a tag me scenario, whether it wants it to be or not.
But with the corporation on 0 credits, it's hard for Sauce to find the time here to really punish the runner and trash its resources.
Yeah, I think it could it could be a scenario where Source like clicks for 3 credits and then shoots the Urban Art or the DJ Fenris, or it could even be click for 3 credits, play the shipment from Vladisibirsk, and then
I wonder if the line here
score.
is just if you have Hush in hand, click to install Hush on Starlit Night, run server 5. You can't Anoetic, you can't run the outermost. You take 2 tags and you see everything that's in there. You trash the
Yeah,
Anoetic, you get your Lou trigger, your card, and your credit, and you see whatever
it's
else is
very
in there. Agenda Suite on the R plus side. It is 3 Bologna, 1 Tomorrow's Headline, 3 Crypto Crash, and the singleton copy of Ares. So it's really the 2 Crypto Crash that the runner is looking for here.
proved it's not a Rashida. Apologies, I think I just disconnected.
I think you're good. Drawing, looking for something.
What are we drawing for here?
All 3 laundries
Are
are
we just
out.
drawing? We've got creative commissions.
One more overclock. Overclock to take down wage workers here probably feels pretty good.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable. Just
Environmental
installing
testing,
environmental
saying
testing.
that Sauce he won't be able to find the tempo to trash it before it's able to fire it off, and discarding that echelon. Presumably planning to simulchip it back in for that 3 credit discount.
Yeah.
Or saying
At
that
some
we're just
point
going
as
to
well.
hush the Starlit Nights and just walk right through them.
Absolutely, and at some point as well, the install cost came from the Urban Art Vernissage, which was under threat of being just shot through a tag. So doing it like this presents you with an Urban Art with no credits and no Trojans in play, or an environmental testing with no counters. So neither of them are juicy targets. You know, you've gotten something out of it, and we see the Urban Art Vernissage go down. So if it can land a bunch of programs all in one go here somehow, you know, that's one way it can dig its way out of this hole.
Of course, that urban was going to be kind of important for actually having the money to get the installs necessary to trigger environmental testing. With only 2 credits here, trying to get 4 installs this turn is non-trivial, even with the DZMZ helping with that first install cost.
Yeah, I'm thinking something like install something that costs 3 or a total of 3 over 2 clicks, run that Cuban, and then we can trigger that environmental tested.
Realizing we've lost our DZ value. Oh no, installing SMC instead. So we are losing that DZ value there.
Yeah, the SMC being 2 environmental testing triggers means that we can make this run, and we're
gonna see environmental testing pop here almost certainly. There's a chance that
we'll have to
waits
pop that
until
before
the corporation's turn, wait for the corp to click for a credit, but nope, we are just immediately seeing the simulchip trash to install our echelon. That's how we're going through. Not Hush, but echelon.
Yeah, I feel like you want to make sure you definitely that you can actually steal a Bellona if you see it here as well.
It is
Um,
3 credits to break the end of the runs, or 5 credits to fully break the Starlit Night here.
yeah, it looks. I imagine we're only going to see 3 credits gone here. Oh, all 5. I'm slightly surprised. That does imply that we're going to try and clear these tags at some point. Or I guess you break them now, so then the next time you run
It's
through
a
it.
crypto crash in there.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Woo!
That is Tuno sweeping for Team SBT. That is 2-0 with um, 3 more games to go. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Great games to both the players. Wow, that was intense to watch.
That was a very tight game with the Corps seemed to fall behind early, but then it felt quite strong after that Oppo research land and then going into this late game, Tuno having to take some tags and it felt like it was going to get quite scary for it then. But
Wild pair of games. All right, we will be back for round 2. That's starting in about 12 minutes at 12 o'clock Eastern. The Tamijo and I are going to take just a bit of a break in the meantime. I'm at least going to go get some water. So we will see you again. That's in 11 minutes. Shout outs to the players. Very well played games.
see you later, everyone.
Welcome back. We are just launching in to round two. We've got D playing for Team SBT. D's Sable list is one they've been piloting for a while, and I'm very excited to see it here. This is Reg Crim at its finest. Second Skin playing for Team Clearingscouse. We've got an OB list. This is not the Grudgework deck. We are seeing the Kalikana Ob, although it looks like this version of the Rush Ob is not on Kalikana, or calibration testing. That's the name of the card. So we're seeing a very Rush agenda suite out of the Ob, 1 Above the Law, 1 Azef, 2 Hostile Takeover, 3 Oaktown, 3 Atlas, and a Singleton Slash and Burn. We've got 1 Managarm Skunkworks as a spicy defensive include here, and a Formicary like to make the double approach a thing to consider on some of those rushes. That extra trick just lets you sneak out 1 more agenda. Fast advanced tools, we're looking at a single copy of Audacity in addition to that Slash and Burn. What a nice start here.
Yeah, it looks like that Managarm Skunkworks sort of taking the place of the calibration testing a little bit. And yeah, with this like draw hedge, Ice HQ seems pretty standard against Crim, and then just draw some cards, make some money on the other side.
So important to get that central ice down early against Sable, and to have the credits to Resit Sable, just giving that single accesses, and against this deck, which can really hemorrhage agendas, just being so full of 2-pointers. But we do see that first push into the remote. Chat, is my audio better this time? Runner here, getting that early class act down. That's so important for them. Crim, you just need sometimes to click to draw that card at the right time, and Class Act says you have a much better chance of doing so, and a much better chance of knowing what you're not going to find. When you don't want something, being able to bottom it, it's very nice.
Yeah. Being able to get rid of like random tech cards you don't need. Which, interestingly, in this matchup, I would usually, this style of deck, I'd be considering things like Miss Bones to be a tech card I don't want, but there's quite a lot of upgrades and quite a lot of like assets that you are gonna maybe touch. So maybe it's not so straightforward. Maybe Miss Bones is a card that you might want to install at some point, because Managarm is not cheap. Malapert, not cheap. So
now we are on 2 Boomerang in this Crim list. It is a Hermes list, as we are used to seeing. A kind of spicy thing here. 2 copies of the Twinning and 2 copies of Wake Implant. We are really committing to that early pressure with that 4 slots dedicated to multi-access in here. We want to find them early. We want to find them consistently in this Crim list.
Yeah, it seems like very much skewed to try and beat something like Grudge or that R+ deck we've just seen, rather than a deck that is attempting to ice all of its centrals and make a lot of money.
Now, a card in the Sable that has not seen a lot of play before, but is here as a singleton, is Concerto. It has had some debate over whether it is a good card or an awful one. The current thinking seems to be along the lines that it is a cantrip, that at best you are going to click to run anyways, and it replaces itself in hand. Now, 1 copy of Concerto, because playing Concerto to draw Concerto is just the worst feeling. Here, I think the only 0 cost or bad hit is a single copy of Mutual Favor, but of course that Mutual Favor being too important to leave out.
Yeah, this is very slightly different to a version I saw which had 2 bad hits, which I believe were both Mutual Favors. So, but yeah, like you say, just keeping low on the number of 0 costers, and just you only need a couple of credits for it to be basically as good as an overclock. We're going to see this early pinhole threading now, just to try and keep this early push of potentially Rashida Jaheim. Yep, there we see.
That feels so good to trash right there. And Tithe hitting the Earthrise, that is a card that, as criminal, you're pretty okay feeling go. Like, you would love to have it, but it's not one of your singleton breakers.
Yeah, and with the class act already in play and another Earthrise in hand, yeah, we're pretty happy, pretty fine with that, with that as the card to be hit.
Getting that mark trigger, getting that value, getting a cast click, and getting an Earthrise with the class act. Earthrise in the class act feels so good every turn.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Corporation here, not in a bad spot, but also not really building a board. It's going to depend a lot on what's in hand as far as if the corporation here, if Senskin Skin, if he's going to be able to really force the runner to respond to things. If he can get like a push into the remote, there's a chance here that the runner, that D just doesn't quite have enough credits to really threaten, especially
Yeah,
through
this seems
something
like
like
a
an
pretty
envelopment.
yeah, this seems like a pretty important turn overall. Obviously, it's not the turn that the game is going to be won or lost, but it's probably going to inform the way the rest of the game is going to play out quite heavily. I think this and maybe the next turn. But the install Spin Doctor in an open remote, res it to see some more cards, is not a strong first click. I don't think. It doesn't indicate that you've obviously indicates that you've not got everything you need right now. Um,
Now,
and then we're
in
going to see
chat
this pushing
asking why
certainly
not face check the remote ice. Chat also pointing out there is a drafter in this oblist, a very nice, spicy include. Certainly, I think the one face check that you really don't want to hit here, other than perhaps Tithe if you have a singleton breaker that you absolutely need in hand.
Yeah, going to be draft is one of those cards which I think it's very easy to sort of dismiss, and then you'll hit it sometimes, and both players will feel kind of fine with it, but sometimes you'll hit it, and then they'll reinstall that Rashida Jaheim, get back that hedge fund when you thought you really had them on the ropes, and suddenly you're behind again.
Absolutely.
Um,
And interestingly, here, Drafter 2 feels really good in this matchup. D is playing a singleton copy as Carmen as their killer. Carmen, you don't want to break Drafter with Carmen a full 4 credits every time. Chesva only goes so far.
yeah, we're really going to be leaning on that Almakua to try and get all the way up to 3, and then
Misclick running the Spin Doctor, but communicating it fast enough not to cause a problem.
yeah, that seems okay. I love that you can see there thinking just default typed into the box and didn't need thinking there, needed oops.
Yeah.
Uh,
Would love some quick chat options. I was looking at old
yeah,
Magic Workstation screenshots the other day, and there were little 5 buttons below the text box for things like thinking and stuff like that. You could just quick chat. Would love some quick chat in JNet.
yeah, I like
Thimblerig
the
there.
indicate
Thimblerig's a
action,
nice
but
little include in this deck where the ice positioning is so important. Getting those border controls. That, of course, being the biggest swap you can do. The runner passes the Thimblerig. You swap Thimblerig for border control. You pop border control, get a Sandstone, and end the run.
yeah, absolutely. And it is a very, very common include for these op decks because one influence, nice and easily tunable when you need it, and also being a two-coster if you get into the position where it's not really doing much for you anymore, you can go and get some usually quite tasty things. I'm just gonna have a look at what you can actually get. Malapert Data Vault is a really good example of something that you can go and
Pinhole.
find off of it.
Second pinhole coming out. We do
Okay, so
have
yeah, using
only
using
two
the
pinhole
final one.
threadings. That is the second one.
Yeah,
Um,
and hitting a second Rashida Jaheim with it, which is very good. Yeah, so both pinholes connected onto early Rashidas, which is and
Carpe
then
Diem with
generate
a
that.
nice mark to go get that click back so safely. And the
Yeah, just
Paladin
a
coming
straight up.
down.
This seems like quite a strong start, but not been really pressured too much. The pinhole threadings do it like compensating quite heavily for not being able to find the boomerang or whatever's needed to contest server one. And if either of those was an agenda push, might have looked a bit worse. But both of them connecting onto Rashida's is a big deal for second skin,
Popping
and
the
it looks like
Spin Doctor now to get those Rashidas back in the deck. We're clearly looking for things to push in server one here. The runner just carefully putting on just enough central pressure to keep the corporation from really getting ahead here.
Yeah. So we're swapping with server one here, so I'm wondering what that might be. We've not seen a breaker, so equally likely to gear check them with a barrier or a code gate. So I guess this way, if you've swapped it um, with a border control, slightly more likely to gear check them against an Almakua.
I think it's just reasonable to get the end the run on HQ. Say that if the runner wants to get into HQ this turn, D of course has 2 diversions. That now they have to find their solution to the gear check in order to get in, not just face check. That while D knows what it is, they have to find something specific to get past the thimble rig, and the corporation doesn't have to pay any money to res that ice.
Yeah, I guess I see that. I guess I see that. I'm just thinking if there's a diversion run, being able to just res a piece of ice and say the diversion is not connecting, and even if you break it, I'm spending my money, so I'm getting some value out of it, feels good. So like if it is a border control, and then you can always swap it later. But it looks like we're more interested in actively defending this Oaktown renovation here. So um, yeah, I feel like this might be a border control. A border control would essentially prevent turtle entirely because you can go and get a sandstone, and the turtle isn't getting through that. Kurapura not getting through a sandstone anytime soon without a lot of help at just 6 credits.
Shout out to Sophie in the chat giving the quick chat options that I absolutely need. Definitely did a damn I'm good quick chat as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking about this Earthrise draw.
Yeah, this feels like no, I was gonna say this feels like maybe a couple of breakers, and you're trying to decide between them. I guess it could be like 2 breakers and a gamble, and you're trying to figure out which breaker you need to keep, or if you wanna like take the risk and you can run, then install the appropriate breaker. But
Well, D, I
I'm
think,
not really
has to
sure what
make the critical decision at this point in the turn. Are they trying to contest the Oaktown, or are they letting the corporation have this one in order to set up their board state? And that's really going to be the biggest deciding factor as to what they want to grab out of this Earthrise hit here. Now, of course, you do really want to take this Oaktown if you can get into it.
yeah,
But
with
the options here, if it's envelopment, your boomerang does not get you through.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this being a tempo positive agenda, and if you're looking at a Hermes here, you might also be thinking, they might also think like the double advance means advance, advance, score, Hermes, reinstall. The Hermes isn't really doing anything right now,
It also means that the
unless
corporation has that click to install a Tucana or a Malapert on top of the Oaktown before they score it.
yeah. So there is a yeah. So I guess in that sense, it is still doing something.
There is, of course, the option of Spicy Oaktown over Advance for more money, but I think the extra click for an install is going to be a much more important. We see the inside job.
That'll deal with everything except a border control
Indeed.
and guard, but I don't imagine we'll see that rest. A big think here.
No
Yeah,
res
okay.
on the ice,
That's something.
giving up the Oaktown,
Yeah.
getting
Well,
that
that just
paladin money. 3 clicks left for the
implies
runner to keep the pressure up.
yeah, it just implies to me that it's not a border control, and because obviously there's no reason to res anything else there. So
With both Daily Cast and Earthrise running out next turn, with the rest of the turn here, I just expect D to be spending their clicks trying to set up the next little econ injection for the next few turns of the game. Of course, we have those 2 paladin credits that we do need to find.
Yep.
Getting Unity here for 1 real credit to land the
And a big
doof.
doof.
Beautiful and really nice timing while there is not a border control res on the board to swap with that Thimble Rig.
Yeah. Sadly didn't have the foresight to pick HQ as the mark instead, but
For sure, for sure. No, but this doof is so nice here, just slowing the game down, letting us play at the criminal's pace, not at the rush ob's pace of the game.
yeah, and the hitting those 2 Rashidas early, forcing the Spin Doctor to shuffle them back, so that Spin Doctor's gained essentially no value. It's just traded itself for a different card. And then once again putting the cop down to 3 credits. There's no real threat here from anything. And with that Unity in play, the Thimble Rigs swapped onto the remote, and the remote obviously not going to be particularly strong here. Obviously, the cop can choose to swap at the beginning of the turn, but they don't.
This is the kind of crim I like to play. Just high impact runs made at the right time.
Yeah, Inside Job is one of the most exciting cards you can play in Netrunner, I think, because it's just this is the run that I want to succeed, and it is going to succeed.
Credit, hedge fund. We've time walked the corporation 2 points up.
That is, yeah, that is quite brutal. And also got our breaker installed at the same time. Started spinning through our deck with this Earthrise. Rolling Archives is our mark, so not going to get any value from Sable this turn, but can get just get that nice click back from some random Carpe Diem or something.
Now, it's really hard to say that the corporation's done anything wrong to end up in this board state. It's just been such consistent pressure out of D's Sable deck to just keep second skin down here.
Yeah, how many inside jobs? We've got 2 inside jobs, so the only consideration there really is if this is a border control that's been swapped around a few times, is expecting the inside job.
Or the boomerang. Sinking a boomerang always feels great.
Well, what I was thinking of is if they expect the inside job, then putting it on HQ means that the Oaktown stays safe. It means that the HQ is safe from the diversion of funds.
For sure.
But it doesn't put you in much of a better position cracking a border control anyway. You still lose 4 credits and then would still have lost the Oaktown to this Unity, so.
Earthrise draw, click to draw, click to draw. We're looking for something.
Ooh. Yeah, we've stalled out a little bit here, or maybe just thinking the corp's done nothing. I'm going to keep my hand full, install or play 2 cards.
I certainly lean towards the latter, and we find the twinning. The pressure just keeps ramping up from the runner's side. As the corp here, it's interesting. How do you really get back into this game? It seems like you need to find a way to make your remote taxing for the runner. Find that envelopment, get the envelopment in the Managarm in the remote, and get an agenda in there sooner rather than later, because any windows are going to rapidly close if the corporation isn't able to find a way to force the runner to interact here. If D is able to just sit back and set up, the game is going to very quickly fall out in the runner's favor.
Yeah, with the two Oak Towns left in the deck, finding that envelopment, you could very easily see a turn of install envelopment, install advance the Oak Town, and suddenly the game does look quite different. Once you've scored an Oak Town and gone all the way up to 14 credits and have an envelopment,
and certainly
even ticking down.
Finding Tucana, getting Tucana in the remote for the next push, I think is going to be so important. Even if the runner is able to steal the next agenda push, if the Tucana is able to start developing the ice on the board, really taxing out D on those runs, this criminal rig, it's reasonable, but there's not the best positioning of all of the breakers into all of the ob ice, especially that Carmen into that drafter. And Tucana being able to get exactly what you need. I would not be surprised to see that 4 credit break come out pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some ice in here that, like you say, you really don't want to see. Envelopment envelopment against pretty much everything you've got. Obviously for a limited time. Sandstone quite good.
And we do
Against
find
the
something to push in the
Kurapura and
remote
the
here.
Alakua. Okay, so this could just be another Rashida Jaheim number 3 out of 5. Um, trying to get some kind of advantage, but that would have to lead directly into, Rashida fires and then we install 3 cards because we need to get some points into
Running
play,
our
I
mark
think.
to get those credit discounts on Carmen so we can install it for 2 real credits, charging the twinning. Daily casts come down. We have our econ solution. Over installing the class act always feels pretty reasonable. 4 credits for 4 more cards.
The constantly leaving this window open though, just going back down to 1 credit, gonna bounce to 3 from this daily cast, but it's not a lot of money, so something like an envelopment is essentially impossible to break just on demand. Um,
I would not be surprised if we're holding Carpe Diem or Laundry in hand to recover so quickly from this, though.
yeah, absolutely, and by making yourself look weak, you can then snap off that quick economy out of nowhere and then pressure again. Or of course, just the second inside job could do a
Yeah,
lot
and
of work.
between Boomerang and Inside Job, contesting is not that expensive. It's the hostel, the first bad pub. Important to get that out without Hermes on the board.
Yeah. So both players now need 3 agendas to win the game, essentially. Um, so we're back into a normal game.
We are 17 cards left in the stack. I would not be surprised to see Hermes very soon here. 2 copies of it in the runner list.
Yeah, we must have seen one. We must have seen one by now. Um, we've got this twinning charging up, so being able to threaten like a bounce on HQ or just bounce that ice and then run through this tithe.
We
With the
do
corp at
have
14,
one
not
flip switch
really.
in order to deal with the Stavka Halfgreen, but of course, with no Resd 3 coster, we're not worried about that yet. Going into the remote, finding out what that is, just the one bad code credit with which to deal with it.
Yeah, there is also obviously the Resma virus, Res Staff, Stavka.
Absolutely.
Forgot the name of the actual card. Just could only think of Staff Run. Okay, I guess we're considering swapping this thimble rig again. But
Yep,
this is
paying
going to
a
be a net
credit,
gain.
paying a bad pub to gain an extra credit seems like a pretty good exchange. Finding out what this card is, we can always run back if we need to deal with it. We will find out what the swap is. But the thimble rig being left there from the corporation's turn certainly indicates that Second Skin doesn't mind the run here. It is the Mavirus.
And okay, taking the virus crack from up here.
See what we're grabbing? It's the Managarm.
Okay.
Doesn't actually make a difference
Oh,
on this board state, but having it, of course, means that it very difficult for D to go back this turn to get it. Again, just everything we can do to create that extra window for Second Skin to find the ability to push another 4-2 or an Alice with a counter.
yeah, and if he can, like you say, if he can find just any reasonable piece of ice to put in front of this thimble rig, a Tattoo Bowler would do it at this point. We expect an answer, but
And chat point out there is no half run in this list. That is correct.
okay. So we don't have to worry about this at all. Okay.
I need like one more screen to be able to keep up the game, chat, and the lists. Oh,
Yeah, I've now got chat up, so
we are at breaker parity. We have a full rig here, and Hermes down.
yeah, full rig, Hermes, 2 twinning counters, and then we're going to be going up to 5 credits next turn.
5
So
credits and a paladin.
a real threat to these centrals at this point can, against any given push, can just go to go to have like a little dig on R&D and see if you can get that bounce going. Um, and then depending on obviously the mark, you can do some pretty silly things from that kind of a position. The twinning, emptying those two twinning counters, you're still going to be able to have two more twinning counters the following turn if
Yeah,
the corp tries to break that R&D lock.
Gia in the chat pointing out that it was interesting that the Mavirus wasn't used to fetch a thimble rig. Of course, the runner D there not having enough credits to trash anything in the server, suggesting that maybe both of them are in hand, which is definitely possible.
Yeah, the two counter there, not the thing, but yeah.
Yes, the Chicana.
Yeah. Yeah, if they are in hand, obviously that's one reason, but he could just be trying to put something in there to protect, like this, for example, in this scenario here, where we're trying to protect the Rashida rather than push an agenda.
Yep, Rashida
Yeah.
and an ice over it.
But this does, whilst this puts you a little bit ahead at 16 credits, you're not too bothered about the money. You're just getting 3 cards.
Oh, but
and
those
you're
3
draw
cards
one
are so
per turn, go
important.
to 9. The problem is, obviously, you can only play the cards you've got access to, and if you've got no agenda to push, you've got no agenda to push. And it feels like this is a scenario where you really wanted to get an agenda out, because, yeah, as you say, all 3 breakers in play, the door is very much closing.
All the start of turn triggers for the runner dripping in. Chesva coming down the central pressure. It's here for sure. It's time.
This is going to be a couple of big turns here.
Concerto.
Oh, it's Concerto. We hit an info bounty. So this as well. Sadly, we are 1 click short of being able to play this info bounty and get value off of it at the same turn.
For sure, but we've already gotten value off of it. We've gotten the 2 credits right on the Concerto.
Yeah, I guess so. It's already paid out and it's not even in play. Assuming that anything actually happens with these 2 credits. Oh. Yeah, the thing is here, if this costs 3 or fewer credits to break, then it doesn't actually do anything. Even if somehow there's a second run back.
Doing some math here, maybe perhaps figuring out if the runner can afford to break an envelopment on R&D. What other expensive ones would there be? It's Stavka. Can the runner afford to break a Stavka here? Breaking 7 strength Stavka would be boost twice, break twice is 6 credits. We can just about do it. We have 9 credits with which to work on the runner side.
Yeah, yeah, we've got we're quite able to do that. Is Stavka last for the turn or the run?
That is a good question. I think it is.
Oh, we're about to find out.
We can go find out.
If you
the remainder
of the run, yeah. So the second time that you run back, it's just 2 credits, which only 1 real credit. Okay, so this could be a Tucana on R&D, I guess. Oh, a Malapert, so I guess potentially we telegraphing that we've got some fast advance in hand.
Perhaps might just be the only 1 coster that's reasonable to get here.
Yeah, I guess.
Otherwise, we're looking at Tithe and nope, that's it. Tithe is the only. There's 1 copy of Tithe and 1 copy of Malapert are the only 1 costers in the list.
Okay, yeah, so it is literally just the only target left. That makes sense.
2 from Concerto, 2 from Chesva, and 2 from the credit pool. 2 credits, 2 real credits to break.
One real credit because one of those was a bad publicity.
Indeed.
So 1 credit to get through R&D here and see 3 counters.
Fighting Mavirus, but we're not mulch, so we're okay with it. Do we let the corporation draw this Mavirus? Seems to be what D is thinking about.
it goes and finds Tucana, but we've seen him virus fire and go and get this this Malapert Managam Skunk Works. What ice are we scared of here? There's a Tattoo Bowler. We don't really care about that too much.
We're seeing two more
Timberring's already in
cards.
play.
So we will know at least a couple of the cards that this Rashida is going to be drawing. We're not going to be R&D locking. We find a hostile.
Oh, that's quite big.
2 hostiles in the list, so it's just 2 more agendas for the runner. Bouncing the ice, do we go back? We cannot quite afford really to go deal with the Managarm remote. Not without an econ play here, although even if you have an econ play here, I think it's probably too expensive to go pay the 5 credits for the Managarm just to pay 1 credit to bounce a Rashida. Very expensive to go try to deal with this server 1, and very difficult to do it in a way where you can trash the Managarm that's in there. I certainly wouldn't want to run server 1 until I could trash the Managarm that's in there. I don't want to pay for that any more times than I have to.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be trying to pay credits for it, just to paying, like you say, 6 credits to trash Rashida and then leave it about, rather than the clicks. If you can at least pay the clicks when you're running in, then you can pay 3 clicks, 4 credits to clear them out. That's not so bad, but paying 6 credits just to kill the Rashida is not a great deal.
Unless the corporation's able to significantly increase the ice on centrals, we're going to be getting a clickless 2 credits a turn for the runner here now that the info bounty is down.
Yeah, this looking like another scenario where the corp has just fallen too far behind here, and not to speak too early, but it does seem like almost like a done deal. 15 credits versus 2 though. Obviously,
this is just a deck that struggles a little bit to turn money into a win.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of money coming on Dia's side here, but if there is a window for the envelopment, then it is now. D is paused.
We are halfway through the deck with only 3 agendas out. You have to think they're piling up at HQ at this point. With 10 cards in hand, you need to get cards out. You need to discard. You don't want to drop them in archives, an uniced archives against a runner who's going to run it to clicklessly gain 2 credits on a 33% chance. Feels like a pretty risky play without a Spin Doctor immediately on tap.
Yeah, and the thing is, with these 4 cards, you're very unlikely to get all of them into play this turn, so you are going to be trashing a card. And if your plan is put an agenda into archives, play a Spin Doctor, you're putting yourself into that same scenario again next turn, where you're going to be drawing all the way up to 7, 8 cards, and then having to play 3 cards again, and you're still, once again, not actually making progress towards winning the game. And with this board setup, you really just need to be putting agendas in there as fast as possible.
With only 2 real credits on the runner side, of course, that bad pub credit does help. This does seem like maybe the chance to try to push an agenda here. Maybe one of the few ones you're going to get for the rest of the game. It's hard to see the path to scoring 3 agendas for the corporation here, but at some point you just have to focus on scoring the next one, find the window for the next one, and if it's not now, I'm not sure when it's going to be.
Absolutely. The envelopment Managarm Skunk Works against Kuripura is the only way you're getting an agenda anytime soon.
Ice install. Atlas here feels reasonable. Atlas into Malapert trigger feels like a way you can actually push this off. We can certainly res both of the ice on this server with 14 credits and still score, which certainly feels very good here. Now that inside job out of the runner side does feel pretty good, but not being able to spend Chesva credits, we're going to have to find a few more credits if we really want to be able to get through an envelopment.
Well, yeah, we can essentially take those 2 Chesva credits off with a HQ run, depending obviously what ice there is there, whilst at the same time potentially hitting 2 cards from HQ, like seeing 2, 3 cards from HQ in order to then bounce one of those ice, or even just bounce the card in server one and again prevent that score,
Yeah,
prevent
Wake
that
here feels
push. Yeah, this is
portentous.
starting to feel. Yeah, you can run HQ twice, run R&D and see 5 cards. Is that correct? Um,
Yeah,
if you don't steal from that, then well, I don't really know what's happening for the rest of the game if you can't if you don't steal off seeing HQ twice and then 5 cards from the top of R&D.
drawing for
Um,
something.
yeah.
Probably drawing for a I've just lost the name of the card. Take a bow.
Oh, Concerto.
No, the one where you gain 3 credits, run your mark. Lost the name of it
Oh,
completely.
Carpe Diem.
Carpe Diem, thank you.
Yeah. Seize the day.
We did not seize the day. We just drew a card. We find a border control. Hard to spend a border control to end a twinning run, but fortunately, Ob here getting you the ice to replace it feels all right. So you do almost certainly have to pop the border control here. It's just so
Do we have
hard
a
to do.
It's a question of whether or not there's a sandstone left. If there's a sandstone left at R&D, then you might be able to get away with this.
And do you very carefully spending that bad pub credit, leaving that Chesva credit for the run back. Afshar here.
Mhm.
1 click left for the runner. Do we have a good run? R&D
Well,
here
if
for free seems reasonable. HQ here also for free seems reasonable. You lose 2 to the Afshar, but you gain your 2 back and you get your Wake implant. Running
yeah,
HQ,
well,
let's see if we
you
can't find an
spend
agenda.
you spend the Chesva credit, and then you lose a bad pub and a real credit down to 3, gain 2 back, gain a click back, get a weak counter, and now you can go and run and see 4 cards off R&D for 1 credit again.
Brutal.
So this is net 0 to see 4 cards from the top of R&D and a card from HQ.
And we find a
spend
slash and
spending the
burn.
twinning on HQ.
We get a paladin.
That
We get
slash
the
and burn
bounce.
one of the ways that the corp can cheat out a couple of last points, but it's still very, very far away from that.
Not a lot of reason to run R&D here this turn, I think. You can certainly spend the credit to go C2, but as the runner, I'm perfectly happy to just click for that credit here, just like D has just done. Leave it on the corporation to shore up. You need to shore up R&D, you need to shore up HQ, and you need to do that while somehow making a remote that you can push in while the runner is just continually creating more forward tempo.
Yeah, I think I would have seen myself drawing a card there, but similar kind of actions, get a resource rather than spend a resource.
All right. We have the game in the remote. If D can get in this turn, Second Skin saying that he thinks that D cannot. 6 credits on the runner side. We'll see if that's true.
So interestingly, if D hadn't just stolen their 5th point, this would have created the interesting scenario where the Hermes cannot bounce the threat that's been put into play. But obviously, if there is a steal, the Oaktown is leaving play forever. So
now, I do think if you don't push this Oaktown here, D, even if D just clicks for credits, you are just losing any window you have left to push. This is, I think, a necessary but risky play on the corporation side. I'm not sure there's another option here, unfortunately, for Second Skin.
This very much feels like I have lost, but I'm going to go down. I'm going to lose the game trying to put this agenda into my score area rather than losing the game because I'm not doing anything.
Got an HQ mark, which isn't as good as it was last turn for sure. We would have loved to see the R&D mark here, but
yeah, I don't think you mind really because the HQ mark, you can run HQ and then force a res, then run the remote and then run R&D. You've got a lot of ways to pressure here, and you're not really scared of anything without the staff run thing happening and things like that.
We are just charging it. Now, of course, this is a best of 5 series, and Tuno did sweep in round 1. If this game goes to D, then SBT will be 3-0 and guaranteed to continue to the next round.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I do hope that we get to see the rest of it played out, but obviously it's up to the players.
Border control, and we are going through it. We are getting that Kurapira charge on there. Kurapira hitting those 3 power counters is so meaningful. So
Yeah,
meaningful for the envelopment,
th-
being able to walk just
there
right by it.
there is a thing here. If this is a I don't even know what barrier it could be. If this is a tattoo bowler, for example, you might not want to res. You might just fire the border control, um, to go and get a sandstone, or else that Kurapura is breaking that sandstone for
Mm-hmm.
free.
Do you thinking
Um,
here? Maybe considering what happens if it's the drafter. We break the drafter. What other ice is tough here?
I think it might just be a case of reading the deck list, looking
Yeah,
in archives, and just going, is there any possible ice that beats me here? And I think the answer's no, but I'm not currently reading it. There is a Winchester.
yeah. I
That
was
doesn't
looking.
seem to
I think
do
the
anything.
answer is also no.
Yeah.
Envelopment
So envelopment literally stops this run, I believe.
and
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 credits in order to break, so can't quite go through that.
and with 1 credit
Um,
left, we do have plenty to advance out in Oaktown. Oaktown, of course, giving you enough money to score it as long as you start on a credit.
yeah, I love Oaktown. Um,
But of course, if we
the
can't
border
get in
control
here,
here,
we just run R&D, don't we?
yeah, this is the crux of it. This isn't a lethal agenda, so it doesn't need to be stolen. So the runner here is at the luxury of
Carpe
being
diem,
able to
that's a
just
good
crash
reason to run
essentials.
HQ. Get that wake implant, and at 1 credit, easy, no res.
Yeah, spends essentially 1 real credit here. Gets 2 back, gains a credit for this run, plus the Carpe Diem itself. So this is plus 4 credits, and plus a counter on both twinning and wake.
Such a line, such a criminal line to click to draw for the Carpe Diem, to play the Carpe Diem. We love finding it right when we need to.
Um,
No extras with the twinning, saving those, I think, for R&D for a dig.
yeah, there is a world here where you just okay, so we're gonna get that extra wake implant counter,
Why not?
and then run R&D. It looks like. I was thinking there was a world where you run server 1, um, get them to crack the border control, um, and then
That's
you
the
do
game.
something like this. But yeah,
Unsurprising that there were more in HQ there.
yeah,
And that is Team SBT advancing to the next round of Fight Night. We will check in with the players if they want to keep going. D pointing out that inside job into Doof being the pivotal turn. I am so inclined to agree. That slowed down the corporation so much and just gave D total control over the rest of the game.
yeah, absolutely. The two Rashidas being shot down by pinholes on 2 consecutive turns into that as well. Just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely just unable to build up any resources at the beginning of the game, and then
And very nicely played by Second Skin. Just so hard to deal with such consistent pressure. And D is such a good criminal player. They really know where to spend those pinholes. They landed just where they need to.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like I was saying, if one of those is an agenda, then the game looks slightly different. But if one of those is an agenda, then the cop is still not gaining those resources anyway. So that's obviously the skill with that pinhole there is going. If this is an agenda, I don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. But yeah, thank you to both of the players, and thank you to you, Izzy. I guess we'll be finding out. I might
Yeah,
send a quick.
let me
Yeah.
ask the players real quick if they want to do game 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So once we've got a response, we'll figure out whether or not we're going to continue. And
Some seriously good Netrunner we've seen today so far. Um,
yeah, some very very impressive stuff. Very very impressive stuff, especially from Team SBT. Obviously from both sides, but being able to take 3 games in a row is quite something.
yeah, this single elimination format, it's tense, that's for sure. Um, really quite the spectacle. It's certainly rough on the teams. I know when I was playing, knowing that the that the game was on the line, that our progression was on the line, was huge, but very fun. We are going to see game 2. We will absolutely be streaming that and commentating on it. It will be much less pressure. It should be a lot of fun to watch.
This is it. This is where all the glory is now. See if they can see if team Clearingscouse can run back just a couple of games.
All right, we're off. It is Tau into PD. Let me
let's have a look.
Pull up the
see
list.
So it's the Hermes Dow deck with 2 wheels, a DJ Fenris, and a pinhole as its influence.
We've got
And
Compile.
the PD deck is
We've got Cordyceps.
yeah. I played this deck and it was hard to play. Is what I'm gonna say.
A full play set of Joyride.
Yep.
2 copies of Wheels because, of course, we are a deep dive DAO. On the PD side, this is an architect deployment test version of the agenda suite. We are on just the classic PD 8 agendas: 3 off, 2 Ikawa, a Luminal, and 2 of your choice of 2-pointer. We've gone with ADT to get that install forward. This particular version is on 1 Anoetic, 2 border control. That is at least my preferred split on those for the influence. The border controls just feel so good right now. The ice here is kind of interesting. We've got a wraparound, which of course feels so good into the mulch variants, but perhaps a little less good into a shaper.
Yeah, the wraparound sort of taking the place of what sometimes is a magnet, but your code gates are already so good that oh sorry, the magnet wouldn't cost you an influence here, so I guess it's not taking the place of magnet. Just so used to seeing a pip next to the magnet.
I would still say it is. Your ice suite, you have 13 slots for ice in a PD deck. Not a single one more. 2 border control, 2 brand, 1 wraparound. I play 3 brand, no wraparound in mine, but that wraparound is such a nice res for 2 credits early that I could easily be convinced. We do have the full playset of Spin Doctor here. Some PDs do drop down to 2 Spin Doctor for the slot and to buy back that extra influence. We're not doing that here.
Yeah, I think I'm more used to playing Acer decks where we're playing like the Tattoo Bowler, for example, or something.
D has kept their hand. The runner, second skin, has mulliganed. So we can expect to see a reasonable start from the PD deck here. Now, there is very little actual HQ pressure other than the necessary HQ run for the deep dive turn.
Yeah, in a sense, Hermes is HQ pressure as well, like stealing random agendas, doing more out of HQ with that Hermes.
But the Shaper U is where we land. The Shaper does not have any copies of Doof. Pushing a remote. We like Rashida here. We like Tranquility Home Grid here, forcing the res, running turn 1, click 1 against PD. I know Andre often shouts this out. I agree. face check turn one. If they spend 6 credits for a mick here, like you're sad about the 2 clicks, but you're not as sad as the corporation is spending 6 credits for an end the run.
Yeah. So
Border
here
control
it's
though.
just a click. Yeah, click you lose 3 credits. That's fine. Um, they are still threatening threatening to score out next turn, but you can do whatever you want with the rest of your turn, gain some resources, or even
PD
potentially
hand
apply
with
pressure on R&D.
greasing border control under Rashida is certainly a keep,
Yeah.
especially since it doesn't look like the other 2 cards are agendas. Very nice start from D here, and a very reasonable start from the runner as well. It's Rashida. Yeah, beautiful on the PD side. That's exactly how you want to start this game.
Yeah, that grease in the palm, allowing that install means that not having to spend a click just on the hedge fund, and the ice on R&D just letting you just shore up against, like an early joyride after this Rashida fires and things like that,
And
and then
we
you can start putting some pressure into play. I love grease in the palm.
It's so good. And we did find slots for 2 copies in this PD list. Slots in PD are so hard. You've got 44 of them, and 8 are agendas. That leaves 36. Another 13 are ice. That leaves 23 cards. 3 are seamless. You've got 20 cards to play with.
Yeah, and obviously with your Rashida Jaheems, your basic economy of hedge fund. Though I guess you could, in some senses, argue that you could play a grease in the palm over a hedge fund.
Certainly
You
in the
really,
YDL version, which we are not
yeah,
on here. Um, I think it's an interesting meta call whether the YDL PD or the Regolith PD is the better call. The Regolith PD has been just a little bit better positioned in the matchup. You just need a little bit more money up front in order to be able to res all that ice in order to keep Lou from making quick value runs early in order to have that matchup under control. So the
yeah.
Regolith really helps there.
Some of your ice is quite expensive, and Gatekeeper, for example, doesn't like pay you anything back. So losing 3 credits is never nice. So yeah.
Overclock gets us SMC Gauss to get through our border control this turn. Gauss being not my favorite breaker, but certainly one that's going to do us pretty well here. That one strength, of course, being just enough to deal with the border controls. Not one that I love to use to break Brand, though.
Yeah, the +3 strength here, not doing anything, but not having to use the +2 strength if you do run back here now. Oh, and Trank Grid was the card in server 1.
And that really does have to come down. Trank Grid, if the corporation has money, they'll just draw cards with it, and then you just, as long as PD is able to just push every turn, like PD is so happy. And the Trank Grid, it's PD's version of your fully operational. It's just you get it once per turn instead of all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. And like being able to, like you say, similar to like the fully operation, but it essentially turns you into into Acer, sort of into NEH, all these other IDs that have been very, very powerful. It sort of does all that itself, and then also you're still PD.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, the 4 to trash is such a tax on a deck that is already so good at making the runner make expensive runs and making them make that expensive run over and over and over again.
Yeah, we saw obviously that was an overclock run, and many of the overclock credits got spent on the install getting through the border control, and then down to just 1 credit to trash that. Going to make it quite difficult to recover. We're going to have to see a creative commission here, for example. We're back up to 2 credits now after a click for a credit, so I'm expecting maybe a dirty laundry. No, just a run straight back in at 0 clicks. That's interesting.
I think you're okay if the border control gets popped here.
Yeah, it's just a wonder of what is the 2nd credit specifically for here. Like, you needed 1 to break the border control, you need 1 to trash a Rashida. I guess it could be a spin doctor, but I'm not really sure what that 2nd credit is actually doing.
No, me neither.
So in which case, might as well have the just one credit, one click, and then you can click for a credit afterwards.
Discarding
But might
compile, it's a
be,
cute card, but I guess we don't need it.
yeah,
We've got simulchip into self-modifying code in the bin for a more permanent breaker solution, if a little bit more expensive up front.
yeah. But this was when I was trying this deck out. This was something that I felt was there's some tricks and there's some neat stuff you can do to get a deep dive off, but there's not a lot of like hard cash, and I feel like it's going to struggle against the this PD deck. I think you're leaning quite heavily maybe on Hermes to slow them down.
Credit, gamble, but PD takes the time to push, get that trank trigger, get another ice on the remote.
Yeah.
This I feel like I would really like for this to be an agenda. I would love for this to be an off-world office or an ADT here if the Seamless is in hand.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ideal I think is Luminal back into another agenda. But I mean, for the agenda you always want to score is Luminal. So
it's so true.
Yeah, but like you say with the ADT, this is one of the reasons why I do really like ADT, and obviously D also here. I've actually opted for 3 ADT 2 off-world office in the past, just because you can get these turns where you advance, seamless, install another agenda with that ADT, get back that seamless, and your opponent's presented with the same question 2 turns in a row, and you've just gained 2 points.
DJ Steve here, bring your own HQ pressure. If you can't do it in Shaper, become Crim. Showing off Gamble Laundry here. We're getting back the Gamble. We're deciding that extra click compression that Dirty Laundry gives you is worth more to the runner than the extra credit from the Gamble, and I'm inclined to agree with that choice. Discarding piece has shown no good way to make runs get value from that, and Simulchip on the board for when we need it.
Absolutely. With that, with the DJ Fenris in play as well, a Dirty Laundry on HQ to get a card back with the DJ Fenris to then play that card again. Much better than just play a Sure Gamble run.
It's the Luminal. We love the Luminal. Best agenda in the game. Yeah. Or at least the best agenda in Standard.
Well, some people have made that claim. Just the best agenda flat out in the game of all time. But choosing to spend the seamless and then get that seamless back, so that we've got 4 clicks after the after the Luminal is scored. So you can do quite a lot here with your 4 clicks. We can shore up HQ, generate economy, draw more cards before we actually have to install. So we can draw a card, install 2. We're still not trashing a card.
Absolutely, and with nothing else in the bin that you need to recur here, you may as well save that credit in a click and just pick that seamless right back up. Another ice goes on the remote, another card goes in, ice on HQ, respect that, Steve.
Yeah, with 15 credits, the other option is, of course, like advance, get back greasing the palm. But with 15 credits, probably not a big deal, especially when you've got the Tranquility Home grid ready to fire as well.
And D, of course, being such a good player, they find the seamless launch here. When I play PD, my seamless launches are always in the bottom 10 cards. That's why I play Vitruvius.
That's fair. That's why that's why I play Acer, so then I can complain when I only find 1 seamless.
Bran here, we only have 1 click, so we're not going quite through it. Unless we are paying a lot with Gauss. We have to boost
6-8.
So it's boost 4 times, break 3 times. So it's 9 credits to go through this Bran. She's firing.
Yeah. Well, unless you obviously let the first subroutine fire.
No install with the Bran, saying that this server is in fact strong enough, and I am inclined to agree. No need to commit nice there, even if you have one.
Yeah.
Running R&D seems good here. That Bran res being very expensive means that resing on this R&D run could be quite pricey. And if you get a steal here, that Tau trigger gives you the chance of running back in. But Drafter, that cheap 3 credits is very nice for the corporation here. Tranquility gets you back into your hedge fund raids on tempo. and you absolutely don't want a drafter firing on this board state. No clicks left. A Rashida comes out if we want it. What else is in
Yeah.
archives here? We pick up the greasing. We're installing the Rashida.
Greasing.
That sure looks like the line.
The only other option there, I think, is just install another Trank grid on a random remote, and then when you get to the Spin Doctor, you get a 2 credit refund on your Spin Doctor, but obviously the Rashida's much
Well, you
more
can
powerful.
install from hand too. There's a reasonable chance that you install
Oh, of
maybe
course,
the
yeah, sorry.
Anoetic or maybe an Ice. More likely the Anoetic or the Managarm just sneaks into server 1, gets you that Trank trigger. From archives, though,
I've got,
Rashida, so nice here.
yeah,
Interesting
I
question
just
about the
straight
score
up.
here. You will end up discarding. You're probably fine with that as the corporation here, especially if it's an off-off. Keep the cards you need. You've got ice on HQ and some money.
Yeah, you really do need the 3 credits after the drafter fire there. Sadly, not going to be able to get the extra clicks after. Oh, so there is a grease in the palm.
Yeah, it was picked up by the drafter.
Oh well, I was thinking more. I didn't expect to see the grease in the palm played. I was expecting a score here.
Mm.
So that implies that this server is the skunk void probably combo. So this is with both of those on the remote and the border control and the Bran. It's pretty impenetrable at this point. Oh, but there is an agenda in that server.
Yep, just
So
not
now
wanting to
I'm wondering if
discard. It seems fair to do that. Like, here, the runner getting in seems very difficult, very expensive to get
yeah,
in. The border control makes you have to go through the brand twice.
yeah, absolutely. I'm partly wondering if this is the 5-3, if this is the Ikawa,
Could be.
or else why would you advance? But I guess just saving the click so you can advance seamless, do stuff.
It's a Mick on
Playing around.
HQ. We do not have the breaker. Simulchip
We would be able to
is
simul chip
gonna be
for it, yeah.
expensive. Because you don't
And
really
in
want to
fact,
lose one of your breakers.
yeah, install Ika, click to lose 3 clicks is not the ideal turn. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that
that
is
Mick is firing. D is going to score out of this remote.
what is the decoder in here? It's Gauss, right? Or Euler, the other one. Yeah, so Euler being the
Yeah, the
decoder.
breaker suite here, 1 Euler, 1 Gauss, 1 Ika, saying we're going to commit to 1 Sentry all game.
Yeah, I believe it would have cost 6 credits to break the mic there. And trash one of your breakers that's in play as well. You'd have to swap in for it.
It's
So
the off-off.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
just
off and
getting
no
that extra
Hermes.
click to push forward,
Yeah,
saying that if the runner was going to install Hermes, that it wasn't going to slow you down at all. Have a click now to push. Dow putting that expensive mic on the remote that we don't want to run anyways, saying that the corporation needs to spend more resources protecting HQ. D just pushing out though. At this point, 18 cards left in R&D. It's very likely that we have double seamless in hand, that this could be the Ikawa to end the game. Of course, if D's draw is anything like mine when I play PD, we've only got 2 pointers. It's a
yeah, there is
joyride. Heck
well,
yeah.
we are joyriding. What are we expecting to draw with this? So we're
Not
going
much
to
if
dip
it's a
below.
gatekeeper.
Well, yeah, so we have to break this, right? We have to. Well,
We're
sure.
not
Okay,
breaking it.
so yeah.
I think it's so expensive to break. A joyride here, letting the corporation draw 3 cards. I think that was not the Tapmo swing we were looking for.
Yeah, we actually can't break it. It costs too much, right?
Yeah.
It costs 4 credits to install the Euler, and then another 4 credits to get up to strength, and actually only have 6 because the dry ride is 3 credits to play.
PD not shuffling anything back here. Probably perfectly happy to hold on to agendas to push them.
Yeah. So either
9 credits we can res on HQ. 6 credit res still gives us seamless advance for the win if it's Ikawa in the remote. So PD probably able to res here. No res here. makes me think it's not the Ikawa in the remote. Or that we just think that we're just not so worried about. Of course, with Hermes not on the board, you don't really need to worry as much.
Yeah. Oh, there is an off-world office, so it is progress, even if it's
Yep.
not a lot of
Now,
progress.
PD, not too sad to lose that here. I think you don't really want to score out another 2-pointer. You would rather find the Ikawa and just close the game.
Yeah, if we're expecting this to be an equal project, but it is also a case of you push you push the agendas you draw, and if this is a 2-pointer in play, then it's a 2-pointer in play, and you do need another one, which would explain why you keep all 9 cards. You're like, I've got 2, maybe even 3 agendas. I might as well keep them all, so then I can score, push another agenda rather than having to
Swapping
shuffle and then
Gatekeeper and
pick.
Drafter, saying that the unrest is best where it is, and that both of these are as easy as we can make them for where we want it to be, that any other swap would be worse. It's not the agenda, we're just greasing ice onto archives. Upgrade on R&D, advance in server 1. It looks like the Ikawa, but we don't have double seamless.
Hmm. I guess maybe just again getting that value of play as many cards as possible still without scoring, and then next turn you can advance, seamless, push again.
Perhaps. I would be incredibly surprised if this is not the
An equal project.
if it's the 4-2. I think you absolutely just seamless it out, get it out of the remote when the Hermes not on the board, and just get yourself to game point and say that the runner's not going to win this turn. Now, you are worried about deep dive, so getting that on there, like the runner is surprisingly capable of going from 2 points to 7 in one turn. Although in this case, with DJ on Steve instead of on Sable, and without having wheels pre-installed, it's very hard for the runner to steal both an Ikawa and another 2-pointer, while also finding the time to install a decoder to break your gatekeeper in order to, and having the money to break everything, because it's going to cost 2 to boost, 2 to host Ika, 2 to boost, 1 to break, so 5 credits to go through Drafter. So here I would have felt very comfortable as D just scoring out if something was in the remote. It being the Ikawa, I think, makes the most sense.
Yeah, like I just think, yeah, I mean, they've pushed whatever agenda they've drawn, and if they've just not managed to find that second seamless, then you know they've had to now pre-advance it. But I feel so unlikely that they've not found that second seamless. But yeah, you can only play the cards you've actually drawn at the end of the day.
Oiler here, we have our full breaker suite, a little low on the credits to use them, though. Let's see if this is the game. We are passing the turn back to D, discarding Hermes, deep dive, seamless, advance, good game.
Yeah.
Scoring agenda points on turn 10, that's PD.
Yeah,
Very
both
well
of those
played by
games.
both players. That
Yeah,
was
both of those games ended on turn 10. Interesting enough, very different games, but both ended on the same turn.
Well, we may have one more game for you. We will see here in a moment if I believe
Yeah,
it's
last week
Lost Geek versus
said
Utati would be the last game uh, if Utati is up for it. Yep.
yeah, it
Looks
looks
like
like
we are
it
going to
looks
see
like we're
that
gonna
last
play.
game, so do stick around. I do not think there's going to be a break. I think we're going to jump just about right into it.
See, yep, we're up. The game is up.
Cool. I
It
will.
seems they're waiting for us.
Ah.
No, no, no. I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. Final SBT. We are here. All right. Let's pull up these deck lists.
So this is Clearingscouse's Corp versus. So this is a PD versus ESSA. So this should be exciting. It's be
We
very
do
fast,
like
hopefully.
seeing Essa. Um,
Yeah.
this Essa, we are on the Begamo Lamb Breaker Suite, one Buzzsaw to deal with that VSA as necessary. 3 Banhar for that early pressure. 2 finalities. Sometimes it's only 1, but we do have 2 here to keep in mind. Only 2 running hots. I usually expect the
Oh,
full
that's
play set of
really
that.
hot. Yeah.
Light the Fire and a Miss Bones as your influence, which does make sense, Essa being otherwise fairly bad at handling assets in the remote. One
Yeah,
copy of
and a
Bravado.
single. Yeah, that single bravado giving you real actual cash, which is something that you do struggle with quite a lot. Um,
On the
in
corp side,
ESTA.
we've got the same agenda suite. 1 border control, 2 Anoetic this version. This is a
And
2
then
spin
Tumor
doctor
Virus.
version to make room for both Anoetic and 2 copies of Mavirus. In this matchup, that Mavirus is completely dead. There are no viruses in this SL list. Early Wildcat Strike, we're giving money, not cards. Almost always the right choice, except when somebody plays it against me, in which case I always give them cards. I don't know why. Tranquility in the remote, we're paying for to take it down. That feels pretty good. Tough to lose an early Tranquility like that early. It's nice to get that economic warfare play on the runner, but if you don't have a second Trank Grid in hand, I don't love that line usually, I find. I would rather wait
Yeah.
to install the Trank Grid until I can get a little piece of ice in front of it. Just force the runner to spend a few more resources there, since it can just so much take over the game if you're able to stick it on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very much what we saw in the previous game, isn't it? The Tranquility home grid just constantly providing those extra credits that are required to just
Absolutely.
keep raising that Bran and things, the Mick.
But another push into an uniced remote. We did find Banhar is going to make it very tricky for the PD to have that early window to push. We're going to need to double ice the remote realistically before the push makes much sense.
It looks a bit like this was a slightly risky keep from Yutati. It looks
Losing
like
a
he's kept
luminal.
yeah, it looks like he's kept an aggressive hand with no ice and hoped to rip into some ice and hasn't found it. But yeah, losing the luminal is a slightly big deal.
Yeah, it's hard. It's possible that Itachi just pivoted away from installing some of the ice into a Banhar until a little bit more of an econ setup is there to actually justify being able to res 2 pieces. It's hard to go install for a credit. Regolith, I'm certain that's coming down here for 3 credits, and it is.
And
Install
then
Marrow,
the
hitting the
Marrow
strike fund. We love hitting the strike fund. Sabotaging end of turn, reasonably safe, especially if there's a spin doctor in hand on the last click.
yeah, so that Marrow comes into play for no cards and no credits in the end, and just sabotages too, and increases the hand size, which is nice.
Hedge ice install. Now, PD does have a lot of 3 sub ice, which does feel about as good into Banhar as any ice could, even if paying 6 credits for 3 net damage is not your favorite thing. That is 1 expensive Bathonimus.
The standard staple Bathonimus.
We're keeping that core damage rolling. We've got Ghost Tongue coming down. Love to see an early Ghost Tongue.
26 events. I think it triggers off every single one. Oh no, there's 2 moshings that it doesn't trigger off. So 24 total targets for this Ghost Tongue.
And that is both pieces of hardware, 3 copies of each that this ESA deck runs.
Yeah. So the rest now just hit points.
And that quick check on archives saying that the corporation isn't allowed to keep anything there until they find a spin doctor, just flipping it up.
Yeah, there is always the push and pull with ESA of Do you run how often do you run archives? Because the more often you run it, the less value you're getting out of your ID because you're spending clicks to get those accesses. But at the same time, if you leave it too long and then they spin back, then your ID is doing nothing anyway. So
Nuka is such a nice card in ESO where it's so hard to keep the diesel in hand. Just install your diesel.
yeah, both of them, in fact, for two. Still only two influence somehow.
You've got another Trank
So
Grid. We are starting
there we go.
Advance Ice. There we go. We have a server very likely to be Managarm here. Anoetic, of course, very tough into the Sabotage matchup. It doesn't feel good to Anoetic them out of the remote, only for them to launch a Chastuska through Magnet for 1 damage and make you trash 4 more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the Anoetic with only 3 cards in hand can only be used once anyway, so.
Advance here. If this is Seamless Ikawa, I think Lost Geek is very happy about that. More likely here, I think we just haven't found the Seamless.
Yeah, if it's just a triple advance, you're also reasonably happy because there was no Seamless draw.
And yes,
yeah, there is already
Light the Fire is already in the bin. Our core damage hits so far were Strike Fund into Light the Fire. Lamb coming down. That
not
remote
quite got the credit to break anything, but just very close to.
Lamb is great for we want to pay 7 credits to get through everything.
Yeah, so even a simple, even a basic click for a credit, name server 3 would let you get into server 3 at this point with that Banha and the Lamb. So, another install in an advance. So,
server 4, that looks like a Spin Doctor. You certainly want those on the board. The ESA player certainly wants to challenge those as quick as possible. Here, finding the tempo to get down your Begamo, getting that core damage and turning your Lamb from a 7 credit break into a, is it 3 or 4? I can't remember if Begamo is 2 credits for any number or 1 credit.
It's 1 credit.
Yeah, turning Lamb from 7 credits into 1, challenging the Spin Doctor, of course, especially with no face downs and archives, getting those out, especially with only 2 of them, feels so good. As HB, as PD, the best way to handle your ESA triggers is just to score the agendas so they don't get sabotaged in the first place. Letting that Spin Doctor go makes sense. You're more likely to want to spin back the Spin Doctor in an agenda than to remove one from the game now.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost feel like this is an Ecoa project. Like, just from the way that, because I don't see a world where you don't just score any of the agendas you've got access to in that previous turn. Like,
Hitting a Steel
your
Skin
opponent's
here.
just played the Night Breaker.
Let's see where these come from. So important to challenge the Spin Doctor before you play the Chastushka.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only 1 Spin Doctor left in 24 cards.
2 from HQ, so that's a big hit really as well. Being able to trash 2 cards from HQ with a 3-cost event.
It's an off-off. We have slow rolled. Just having that time to deal with the Marrow Sabotage, losing from R&D. We have a click left to decide what to do. We're pushing in the remote. PD here nearly recovering. ESA only on 1 credit. You actually have a good window here. There, early luminal score, or that early luminal steal into the setup is certainly looking threatening, but PD definitely has legs to recover out of this position with 14 credits and a double iced remote.
I will say this is a time where I would choose cards if my opponent played a Wildcat Strike.
For sure.
So we found it.
All right, we've got a Labor Rights. We're losing Wildcat Strike. Another copy of Labor Rights. Sure, gamble.
Maybe should have clicked on Nuka instead.
Maybe so. We would not have been sad to draw that. Although I'm not sure you want to click to play Wildcat Strike and get a lot of cards. What
Yeah,
are we
I
bringing
guess
back? It's
the
strike fund, labor rights.
thing is, if they do give you a load of cards, you do have the ability to just outright play your strike fund as a sure gamble. You can just find the running hots to start drawing more cards and start getting more clicks and getting money.
S is
Um,
never too sad to overdraw, anyways. If there's a deck that doesn't mind discarding, it's the deck that doesn't mind discarding at random.
yeah, absolutely.
Second
But
agenda
there we
push,
go.
it's an ADT. That's a really nice score here. Getting a second ice on HQ is so important to keeping out another Chastushka. Um, that's almost certainly where it is. Of course, finality, the threat is looming.
Yeah, and the way that it works as well, knowing the sabotage, like knowing the top of R&D, so then you know exactly how to sabotage like most effectively
Absolutely.
is not nothing.
It's interesting here. You've got seamless, and if you've got the double seamless in hand, which is unclear if we do, and we see Ikawa on the top, there's a chance you just throw Ikawa right into the remote. Um, Depends on what the ice is, of course, but Anoetic Void is the call. Paying 0 to
Mm.
res Anoetic Void at no cost. Interesting. That indicates to me that we haven't seen ice on top. I would certainly want to force that magnet to become a 7 credit break on HQ instead of the 1 card break it is right now.
The other option there, of course, is if the only ice is the top card and then there's agendas underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to leave R&D exposed. Lost Geek hasn't run R&D, and I think if you install a piece of ice onto HQ, whilst you are slightly incentivizing an R&D run, I think Archives is a run first if you're just going to fire off a random dirty laundry or something. So,
Absolutely. It's
but here is
so hard to
Chastushka.
justify R&D runs for singles here. We're 3 agendas out of the game. There are 5 left um in the cards we see here. We've lost
So
a
this is,
finality. We wanted to keep that for sure.
yeah, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. There's another finality to find, and this
I think
Chastushka
we
is going to
wanted to
do
play
it
the
a lot of
finality
work.
next click. I think we wanted to
Oh,
go
of
Chastushka,
course,
sabotage into finality and to win the game. And I think we are
of
seeing
course.
um, that not happen. Um,
Yeah, I just feel like with um no push happening here, and then we've got 1 card from HQ, 3 from the top of R&D. Obviously, Utati knows what those 3 cards are. So unlikely that this has left something open.
Lost Geek taking a think here. You do need that click for an Ikawa. We are moshing.
Watching, go and find that other copy of Finality.
Perhaps, but you really wanted the click to steal an Ikawa on it. You can't play it last click.
Ah, of course, of
Running
course. Well,
hot,
running hot
beautiful.
into,
You can
yeah,
play it after a running hot, though, even though you would rather, I think, spread those out and not take 2 core damage a turn. Um,
yeah, that is understandable, but
2 from
this,
HQ.
oh, interesting. It feels almost like to me there is an agenda in Archives now, and Utati just doesn't want to take that risk. He doesn't want to put the extra, like the game point in Archives, as it were.
Installing Behemoth, it's another
Oh,
Chastushka.
yeah, this is big. So this is 3 credits to break. So this is a 6 credit Chastushka in total.
5 after Ghost Tongue.
Oh, Ghost Tongue, of course. Sorry.
It's big, but of course, without another running hot, we can't steal an Ikawa. But unless the Spin Doctor is the last card in hand or right on top of R&D, it's going to be hard to get an Ikawa back into the deck. 10 cards left. We need something to push. The 1 card left, my guess is it's the Seamless.
Yeah, very, very much, very possibly could be, but I feel like I would have taken the single access on R&D there because if it's if it's not an agenda, then you're happy. Um, and the only non-agenda you care about is Spin Doctor, and you want to trash that Spin Doctor. So there's a world there where where Utati has made it so that he's got just the Spin Doctor on top, ready to draw from that from all those trash
Install
dusters.
advance. That's an Ikawa.
Yep, it looks like game. Does look like game point, and Lost Geek's drawn a lot of cards here
Now
to
you
try and
can't void
dig,
out.
but
So with 13 credits, what could the ice be? If it's Bran,
but we do see there Utati saying I should have drawn off Trank.
yeah, you need to be
Wonder
able
if
to
Lost
void
Geek will
there.
allow it.
Lost Geek's allowing
Yeah,
it. Of course, this game,
yeah,
no longer being critical. It's much easier to give these kinds of takebacks when your team's continuing is not on the line.
yeah. I mean, I think as well, choosing server 3 with Banar there is a decision, but I think it's a reasonably. I think I'd probably have done
Sure. We might need to rewind more if we're not going to ban our server 3, but given that we break Magnet for 3 credits, that's
Yeah,
probably, and we expect that one of those 2 cards. It does seem like we kept the Ikawa, not the Seamless. Um,
yeah. I guess we don't know whether that was the top card or.
and indeed,
Ah,
Lost Geek
okay.
changing the ban heart to HQ totally makes
So
sense.
we will have to do an undo here, I think, or
We can
it'll
just do it
happen
manually, take net 1, or we can undo it.
Oh yeah, and the the undo turn here, just undoing undoing the undo. Yeah,
Yep.
there we go. All fixed. All fixed.
JNet be like that sometimes.
So this time,
Labor
choosing to
rights.
play the
If we
labor
can
rights,
find
hitting nothing.
a couple Chastushkas.
Yeah, puts back Chestushka. I assume another Chestushka. Maybe a. No, you can't really afford to put that one. And then maybe finality. Because if you rip the finality, you're happy to play. I think. Oh,
Yeah, it's tough.
it,
Runner
it
needs to
seems
win this turn.
unlikely.
We don't know what's in
Yeah, it
archives.
does.
The game could just be there.
Yeah, it
Um,
seems unlikely that a run on server 3, a finality, and a run on archives isn't enough to win the game to me. So if you can find the finality, obviously you want to.
Indeed.
But I guess you're a click short of doing all that. So because you have to draw as well. Hmm. Ah, okay. So Lost Geek currently thinking. So one Shushtusher has been clicked. Obviously, we don't have to commit to that. I guess trying to figure out what else could possibly be needed with let me just have a quick look here. So in the bin we had two steel
Chastushka,
skins.
and Chastushka. It's tough to take a core damage card because after the labor rights draw, you need to spend another click to draw in order to play it. And I think you just want the highest possible chance of landing a Chastushka here. Chastushka into run archives seems like the line. We find the Chastushka. We have to break because we do not have the card in hand to take as damage, but for 3 credits, we are through.
So now leaving the door open, now we're just gonna this run archives and then
Now,
hope that it's a Q and an Ikawa.
2 and 2, you no longer need the cards for it. Let's see what's in here.
There's got to be something.
There's the Ikawa.
Yes,
There's the off-world.
exactly.
It's the game. We have
Oh no, not exactly, but still.
well
Yeah,
played
if
to both players. Utati playing to his outs, but Lost Geek just having the pressure to find it. 6 cards left in R&D, 0 cards left in HQ. Winning on the last possible click for the runner. Very well played to both players.
have to assume that that's the we have to assume that that's the Ikawa project.
And
And
Yeah,
that
it was
is,
quite
it has
tense.
to be the
Fine.
Equalot project. That's the only agenda left in the list. Oh, no, sorry. There is
There's
one more
another
ADT. I can count.
Yeah.
Well played to
Well,
both
yeah.
teams. SBT taking the clean sweep, 5-0 off Team Clearingscouse. But that is not to say the Team Clearingscouse did not play excellently today. We saw some really great Netrunner. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today. I'm Izzy. With me has been Tamijo. It's been so much fun having you all. And I am so excited to keep watching the rest of Fight Night.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you very much for having me on, Izzy.
We will see you all later. Bye, all.